I do not make a huge hole in my wall at any point in this video, it's a win. It's nice to see you. I'm glad you could make it. Now welcome to the dwelling of my very last brain cell. And by that I mean the idea that my very last brain cell thought up for why you are here today. The reason that we are here. The reason for the season, if you will. There are so many books on my TBR that I want to read, but they're being overshadowed by all the books that I need to read. Now need, you're right. Totally overdramatic usage of the word need. However, there are so many books on my TBR that have been occupying brain space in a way that I just can't get over. And you know what? The last 2 weeks of my life, the universe has been antagonistically against me. I mean, my car got smashed to bits in a parking lot that I park in all the time, right? But obviously it wasn't in Ontario. It was in another province. So I did in fact have to drive home the 7 hours with no windshield. As a socially anxious person, if you are also a fellow socially anxious person, I'm sure you can imagine what was going through my head every single time I had to pass someone going 80 kilometers on a 110-kilometer highway. Yeah, it was not a fun 7 hours. And then when I finally did get home, finally started editing, which I have been having to claw myself out of bed recently. When I finally started editing last night, I did spill a Red Bull all over my keyboard. It still works. It's fine. We powered through. And then when I was like, you know what, I'm gonna move myself to a more comfortable location so I keep doing this, a candle tipped over and spilled all over my face, my hair, and somehow all 4 sides of my laptop. The keyboard, the screen, the front, and the bottom. The universe has been a little antagonistically against me, and I don't trust any of my judgment-making calls. Enter the dartboard. I am not able to make good decisions right now. Any life-altering decisions. I can't even make the decisions that don't matter, down to the books that I am picking up. So I am leaving it in my AIM's hands, which non-existent AIM. Yeah, no, never played an AIM-related sport. Not good at golf. Not good at throwing things. So this is basically just pulling things from a jar. It's completely random. If it doesn't go into the wall, we're all winning. That's where we have ended up. Remember those old school YouTube throw a dart at a map and wherever it lands you go videos? I have been a YouTube watcher since my first breath. I have been an avid YouTube connoisseur forever. And in that very dwelling of that very last brain cell that was holding the tears in when the universe has been against me these last 2 weeks, it thought up, take it out of your hands. Why don't you spend the low price of $100 on a very nice dartboard? Yeah, it was the cheapest dartboard I could find. I'm committed to the bit. So for the next little bit, we are going to let my brain take a little bit of a break. We're gonna put the brain cells on winter hibernation. They can wait for the season to start changing, to start operating again and making decisions. You know what? February, March in Ontario, it is all my brain cells could ask for, and we are leaving it in the hands of this hand to make our decisions. There are so many books on my TBR that I want to read viscerally, desperately. I want to read with every fiber of my being. And one of my goals for 2025 was to actually read the big books. Now you might be asking yourself, literally, what the fuck do you mean, Maddie? Let me elaborate. In 2024, my goal was to post every single Sunday, right? And for a really long time, I really felt the only thing that I was comfortable doing was doing reading vlogs. So that meant that I needed to read 3 books for a reading vlog every single week. I didn't necessarily succeed in that in totality. However, I was prioritizing books that I wanted to read that were shorter. But for the most part, those really long, in-depth, crazy books are the ones that changed my life. They always are. They always have been. I think they always will be. Don't get me wrong. A 300-page book can tear my heart out and be my favorite book ever. Enter The 7-Year Slip. Enter Chestnut Springs. I love a good short romance. However, the ones that leave a lasting imprint on me are 9 times out of 10 really in-depth, long, big fantasy series that are like 3,000 pages of words. And I have in the past put them off if I didn't think I was gonna have enough time to read them for a said video. Today we are letting that go because every single book on here, for the most part, is like over 600 pages. And it was my goal for 2025 to read the books that I really want to read, and I have had the most amazing reading year so far. Every single one of those books have left a lasting imprint on me the way I think that these 10 books will also leave a lasting imprint on me. Now, if I may draw your attention over to the demonstration over here, the dartboard, we will take a little gander at what we could get this week. I have used that one singular brain cell in the dwelling in the back of my brain that you are entering that thought up this video idea to narrow it down to 10 books that I A, think will be 5 stars, are B, books I've been putting off, or C, all of the above. Most of them are C, all of the above. Where we could end up this week, we have Let Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wong. I have been wanting to read this. I'm intimidated by it. I feel like it will change me on a molecular level. However, I feel that about all 10 of these. Every single one of them, and that's why my brain can't pick. It can't pick. The Wedding People by Alison S. Pat. I had this in my brain for the longest time that I kind of wanted to read it, and then somebody told me it's about a girl that goes to a hotel to end her life and then meets a bride that's like, babe, not on my wedding week. I feel like it's gonna be a transformative experience. It feels very up my alley. I think it'll make me cry. I think it'll make me feel a lot of things. Women working together to find a reason for life again, up my alley. City of Gods and Monsters. I think it'll be amazing. It's 800 pages. It'll be amazing. Children of Fallen Gods, the second book to Daughter of No Worlds. Now, Emily gave me Daughter of No Worlds for a 24-hour reading video and just decided to irreparably change my life. I could not stop thinking about Roche. Could not. I need to know. I have never been occupied by a fantasy series like I am by this one. I knew Carissa Broadbent was good. I didn't know she was that good. Gifted and Talented by Olivie Blake. I think that needs no explanation. I was very kindly gifted an advanced copy of it. Olivie Blake is my poison. I will choose it every single time. Heavenly Bodies. The amount of comments that have told me I need to read this tell me I need to read it. Blood and Steel. One of Emily's favorite books. Haven't heard a lot else other than it's one of Emily's favorite books, but I take her recommendations like gospel. A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrienne Young. This is the only book on here that's not like 700 pages. It was the last addition to this list because I do really want to read it, but I feel like I could have chosen that one, but we needed 10. So that's the 10th one on here. Fairy Tale. I don't know. I've heard some good things about it and my brain has decided that'll be a good one. You want to read it, that'll be a good one. And last but not least, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab, which I do have a copy of on my Kindle somehow. I don't understand how I get these advanced copies either. I will humbly accept them every single time. Hopefully the publishers that made the decision to send me those advanced copies don't see this video and find out that I'm actually operating most times, 9 times out of 10, on a singular brain cell. That being said, let's get to the fun part and let's throw a dart. I feel like I was kind of playing a character there. I don't know what all of that just was. New personality unlocked. I have done a couple of practice rounds with this dartboard so far because obviously if a dartboard shows up at my front door, I'm gonna throw the dart. You can't ask a girl not to throw the dart. The only practice I had ever had throwing a dart ever was with that little iPhone game when me and my boyfriend play, and he destroys me every single time. So this is really leaving it up to chance because there's no aim in the chat. If I do not make a huge hole in my wall at any point in this video, it's a win. One more ground rule. You may notice there's a book every other number, so we are gonna count each book winning if it lands in the slice that it is attached to or the one to the right. So every book has 2 slices to win. How do you actually play dart? Are there rules or do you just add the numbers together? If it lands in the black, it's a miss, right? It's not in the middle. That's what we were aiming for, but the dart has chosen. The Dark Gods really said, why don't we start with the longest book possible on that list? Like this entire brick sounds like a really great place to start. We have 731 pages of this little baby to get into. If you were looking at my sweater and thinking, I also love to live vicariously through fictional characters, I wonder where she got that. I'll let Future Maddie tell you about it. Future Maddie here to let you know that there is still 1 week left to pre-order the book club sweater. If you couldn't tell from the sweater I was wearing like 5 seconds ago, this book club sweater went through a lot of iterations before we landed on what we ended up going with, and I feel like in comparison, there is no comparison. Like this is just so superior in so many ways. However, this was the video that was going to originally announce the first book club sweater, hence why it's so late and hence why the sweater has changed. But if you have not heard anything about this, we officially have a book club hoodie. We're gonna rapid fire this because if you follow me anywhere else, you've probably already seen this, but we have embroidered on the front a will to live vicariously through fictional characters, a big completely drawn by me graphic that says made of paper and prose in the writing that I draw at the beginning of every single one of my YouTube videos, the jumping writing in the intros of all of my videos. And then same as last time, and arguably probably my favorite detail, we love you XX on the sleeve in case you need a little reminder right by your hand that I do in fact love you very much. The sweater is available for pre-order until June 2nd, so if you've been thinking about grabbing one, here's a reminder. If you're learning about it for the first time, hi, hello, we have a second book club sweater, and you can find all the information, all of that jazz at MadisonKate.com. And I also do want to say a huge thank you to the support that I received on this already because I was nervous putting this out, especially because it's all like done by me, my writing, my drawing, all of that jazz, and the response I've had on everything has made me just so beyond happy. Like I love this this sweater, and to see you guys loving it too is just, it's filling my heart in a way that I cannot explain. That being said, I'm gonna let Past Maddie take over the reading portion. And if you're missing any information or I didn't answer any questions, everything is at MadisonK.com. Okay, love you. Death is only the beginning. Sounds like this is gonna irreparably change me on a molecular level. Preemptively, thank you, Dark Gods. Attention please, attention. The world she'd been born into was a world of wolves, and it didn't take kindly to lambs like her. To survive it, you either had to become a wolf or make friends with one. She knew she didn't have it in her to become a wolf, so she would likely have to try for the latter, though friend was the last thing she would expect to call this man. I don't think friend is what we're going for, babe. I don't think he will be a friend. I can't lie to you, I'm not mad about it. It has been a while since I last talked to you. I don't even recall the last time that I talked to you. However, we are in fact like 250 pages into City of Gods and Monsters. There is nothing more humbling than being 250 pages into a book and being not even 30% of the way through. Like not even a third of the way through. I knew I wasn't the fastest reader ever. This is a really slap in the face of a reminder. And I can say pretty confidently, pretty honestly, that I haven't felt like I've read 200 pages. Like it's been going really quickly and I like it honestly as much as I thought I was gonna like it. Like I thought I was gonna really like it. So it's so far like matching my expectations. I don't feel like it's all that slow. Like I feel like everything that happened in the 200 pages had to happen. I just have like literally no idea where it's gonna go, or like there's also like a lot of small plot points that I'm like, why are we saying that? Is it gonna matter later on? Like I'm not totally sure where we're going, but we're only not even 30% in, so I don't think I'm supposed to, you know? However, is fun being had? I would have to say yes. Now, I'm gonna get everyone to buckle their seats, okay? The seatbelt sign is on, and it is in fact time for me to attempt to explain to you what this is about. When it comes to a big fantasy world, yeah, it's a gamble if what I'm gonna say is gonna make any goddamn fucking sense, okay? My one gripe with this book, I'm already getting off track. My one gripe, okay? This is in third person. The amount of times that I have read the word Loren in this book is crazy. I literally think every single sentence starts with Loren. Every single time she has a thought, it's Loren thought this. Loren thinks this. Whenever he's talking about her, Loren, Loren. I don't think I've ever read a name, let alone any motherfucking word, in a book this many fucking times. I sound very mad about it. I'm not that mad about it. It's just a small thing that I've noticed that I've been like, again, okay, no, again. Another paragraph starts with it, you know? I've never noticed it in another book before. It's so many times. It's not bad. It's not bugging me. It's a comment that I had that I don't know how to have a comment in my head and not share it. That's kind of the issue here. We're following Lorette, and the book will not let you forget it. And Len is a human girl. This is an urban fantasy in a city with vampires, dark slayers, witches, all of the things that is riddled by demons. So no one goes out at night. You can't really go out at night. They have these things called HID light, which I'm assuming are like really high definition light so that the demons can't go in the light. I don't totally know. And that was a really small facet of the story that I didn't need to share with you. But it's okay because like I said, you're buckled in, right? You're buckled in, you're ready for the journey that I'm about to take you on. We have dark slayers. We have so many things in this world, and Loren is just but a little human girl. I will say we're not getting a lot of like, oh, small, teeny tiny girl, which I appreciate so much. You know what? I don't hate it in a book. It doesn't normally drive me up the wall. It sometimes does, but it doesn't normally. But I appreciate in this that she's strong, but she's strong in her humanity. Like even a professor in this said that humans have the best lives versus all of our immortal lives. And everyone in the class is like, what are you talking about? And he was like, because they live every moment like it matters because they know it's gonna end. Like we're finding strength in the finiteness of life. And if you know me, you know that that message will always hit me deep in my core. It is my favorite message. I read it for the first time in Masters of Death and I've never been the same person since then. And I see bits of that in this, like there's strength in Loren being a human and being gentle and sweet. I love it. Now, enter Darien Castle, okay? I get the lore. I'm only 250 pages in, but I'm getting the lore. Darien Castle is the head of the Seven Devils, hence the House of Devils series, which is the best the strongest, the best, I don't have another word for it, group of dark slayers. They're called hellseers because they have a thing called sight, so they can track people by their auras. So they're essentially magical bounty hunters that are incredibly powerful, incredibly deadly. And we're starting out with Lauren and her two best friends, and they are walking home from a club, okay, because a taxi wouldn't come, when people pull up and they end up abducting her best friend. But it turns out they were looking for Loren, which is crazy because she's just like some human girl. Why would anybody be looking for her? But then Darian also gets that same bounty hunting task, and he goes to abduct her and is like, you're human. Why is anybody paying me money to abduct you? Why don't I work with you? Why don't we work together and we figure out why? And that is the premise of what we are getting in here. I guess I do know what it's about, but there's a lot of teeny tiny nuanced little bits of plot that I'm like, why'd you tell me that? It must matter later on. So I don't know where it's gonna go furthermore, because this is only book one of it's gonna be 4 or 5 books, 730 pages. Is it ever that serious? Is it ever that serious? The 250 pages that I've read so far all needed to be there, so we'll see how I feel in the end. But at this point, I'm getting the lore, I'm getting it. I love both of our characters, you know what? And I know that Darian's backstory is gonna be tragic and it's gonna tear my heart out, okay? We get sweet moments, so many sweet moments of him just like, he just seems like he's gonna be soft in the end, and he's gonna like touch her and you die of it all. I love it, I love them. We'll see where we go from here and what happens from here. At this point, like, I'm expecting a pretty high rating. I don't know, I can't think of another like big urban fantasy that I've read, so this is like kind of something new for me, but it's a very easy world to understand, even though there's like a lot going on. I will say the beginning was incredibly info dumpy. Like the first 2 or 3 chapters, I was like dodging information like left, right, and center, but I did actively notice that like the 4th or 5th chapter mark that had kind of gone away, and I had like a really good understanding of the world, and I was thankful for those couple of chapters. So I will take a little bit of info dumping at the beginning if I will understand from there on, you know? And with 730 pages to spend with these characters, I'm glad that I'm loving them. That's all I can really say. I'm glad that I'm having fun in their heads and with our situations. It just feels like so much is going on. The world is so big, like the plot is so big. There's like so many interconnecting characters, and like we're meeting so many people, but it hasn't been confusing. It's been relayed to us in a way that like I actually have an idea what's going on, you know? And like there's a lot going on. Maybe my two brain cells have been working together the last few days for me to like actually understand what's going on. So a big props to my brain, a big props to this book for being what it is, I guess. I don't know. Sometimes I say things and I'm like, I have no idea where I was going with that. Actually that's normally how I feel. So we're gonna continue. I think this one will take a little bit to get through. I think this one will be like a bit of like a long journey, a reading journey. However, I'm happy to be in this world. I'm happy to be doing this. My best friend posted a picture crying to it the other day, so there's a real chance that this is gonna change me on a molecular level, you know. But that's what we did the dartboard for, because I'm pretty sure all of these books will. So, and I mean, we all love to cry, right? Like we all love a little bit of emotional destruction, just like a book girly thing, right? Yeah, okay. I'm gonna keep reading this now. Keep you updated. This is my 250 page check-in where I'm like cute and having fun. Watch it be like the 700 page check-in and it's like, I feel like that might have jinxed me. That might have been foreshadowing. Well, editing me will know. I was not expecting that to be where we were heading. I might not be able to be with Em physically right now, but I can listen to her dark romance playlist. Let me tell you, the burn in here, she is slow. We are slow burning the house down. I have to say that there are little moments of banter, which we are getting progressively more of as we're getting further into here. I'm eating them up. This soft, sweet banter that they have, it's not like spicy or like sassy banter. It's like kind of fucking adorable. Don't get me wrong, Darien Castle. I'm fiending. No, I'm fiending. Their banter is like kind of adorable. You can tell he treats her like a flower, like as he should, you know what I mean? However, that on the background of this demon-riddled, extremely fucked up, dark, twisted world, it's a combination I will pick every single time. That's all I'll say. Every single time. I heard there's this thing called a hug. I'm not much of a hugger, but it might help. She stepped forward and into his strong arms, and he took her in gently like flower petals closing at sunset. You're good at this, I mean, for someone who never hugs. Your heartbeat, he murmured in agreement, his slow breathing ruffling her hair. Your heartbeat is slowing. Nothing bad can happen to them. Please, no. Chapter 35 and this song. Match Made in Heaven. Yeah, no, Match Made in Heaven. Hey, so we've been in here like far too long. We have been in the process of reading this for 8 days going on 8 years. I've made a decision, okay? It wasn't an easy decision to make because I'm having so much fun and I've been reading it at a slow pace because I'm enjoying it. However, we're finishing it today. We are. Round of applause. Does that mean we're actually gonna finish it? That's anyone's best guess. Because I mean, like, it's not like we don't have a third left, which is so many pages in this brick of a book. I have in fact cleared everything off of my calendar so that I can spend only today with this as my only to do. And by cleared everything off of my calendar, I mean blissfully ignoring all of my to-do list. It's been cleared. Clear is relative. I feel like we're gonna get to a point now that there's gonna be no world I can put this down, which is kind of what I need. Because, like, I mean, I can't lie. Too long, you know, too long. Maybe I'll have a different opinion at the end. Too long. Am I having fun? 100%. No, so much fun. Too long. Yeah, no, this is actually the size of my head. And there's gonna be, what, 5 books in this? Like, that is encyclopedia length. You know, I'd read an encyclopedia all about Darien Castle, so really who am I to judge? Foul. That is cruel. No, that's unfair. That's below the belt. Okay. Class is in session. It's time. It's been a couple days. Also, like, for timeline consistency, if any of you guys are curious, now is the time that the couch moved. In the last Bookish Diaries video, that is where our timelines are lining up. So if you're curious what day it is or what's going on right now, the couch has in fact been moved, and that is the timeline. I love when I'm watching something and a day connects to a day that I saw somewhere else. So I thought I would include that. I have literally no idea why. City of Gods and Monsters by Kayla Edwards. It's been a couple of days. I did kind of want to think on it. I wanted to see how much I was gonna think about it after the fact because I spent so much time in it. I have a lot of thoughts and simultaneously kind of none. You know what? Darien Castle. No, I can't even tell you about him. He can just be experienced. No, I thought I was gonna love it. I didn't think I was gonna love it this way. I feel like I say that all the time. It didn't end up being what I thought it was gonna be, but it was somehow better than I thought it was gonna be, but I already had the highest expectations in the entire world. It's kind of how I'm feeling about this, but it's also how I feel about most things because I usually go in having absolutely no idea. Like, I am the most uncreative person ever. Like, the 140 characters on the back of a book telling me what it's about, I can't make a deduction about what I think that book is gonna be about. It's just simply not a skill that I have. And then the things that are on the back of the book start happening and I'm like, that's crazy that I didn't think they were gonna happen. I fear that says like a little bit too much about me. I think I just learned something about myself. Anyways, this was so long. It was so fucking long, but it wasn't too long. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? It's long. It took me forever to get through, but none of it felt wasted, really. Like, I feel like any other book that I've read that has been this long, I've been like in a part at least, like, why are we here? Why are we doing this? Like, is there a world that I could skip this chapter? You know when you ask the internet, like, do I have to watch this one episode of a 15-season show, or is this like a spin-off random that doesn't really matter? Can I skip it? I feel like books always have that, but this never had that. Like, everything seemed to be following a storyline. Feels like this is the winnowed down. This feels like the pared down version of whatever this started out as, because none of it shouldn't have been there, but it was so long. So don't get me wrong. It was not short by any means. It didn't feel fast, but it wasn't too long. Like, I wouldn't take 100 pages out of this. Could you have maybe taken 100 pages out of this? Maybe. But that's not the thought that I'm having about it. I don't think you could or should take 100 pages out of this. I have a lot of thoughts about this book. There's so much about this book that I feel like is so well done. I really don't have very many negative feelings towards it. It didn't give me 5-star feelings. It didn't, I'm not gonna lie. I think that has a little bit to do with the so long versus too long. Like, if it was feeling too long, we'd be in 3-star territory. You know what I mean? Like, too long is the bane of my existence. It was so long and there was so much that happened. It was a 4.5. It gave me 4.5 feelings. These are 5-star characters for me. This will be a 5-star series for me. If it continues to feel the way that this reading experience felt throughout the rest of the series. There was so much about this that I thought was so well done. It really feels like Kayla Edwards is a fantasy reader, and it feels like she's like us. Do you know what I mean? She's looking for the same things that we're looking for, but it's not like by trope necessarily, just by the way things happen, and like the things that are annoying in books I just found weren't annoying in this book. Oh, I said nothing. No, I literally said nothing. Let me elaborate. For example, this whole story is following the Seven Devils and Loren, our human girl, right? It's not the most craziest of plots ever. However, this world and the plot did end up being super unique. I've seen a lot of people compare this to other urban fantasy series and say that it's really similar. I think this is the first urban fantasy series that I've ever really read, other than like Olivie Blake's one from Anime. So I don't have anything to compare it to, but the world was huge, but it made so much sense. It wasn't like too exposition-y, like we had to know a lot, and that first couple of chapters felt a little bit like really exposition-y, like okay, we're getting a lot of info dumping here, but it didn't carry on throughout. It was paced so well. Where I was going with what I was saying, okay, we have Loren, we have her friends, the people in her life, we have Dallas, her sister, who's a witch, we have her best friend Sabrine, who is what was Sabrine? How was this already left my brain? And we also have the Seven Devils, okay? The Seven Devils are the Hellseers, they are the Dark Slayers, they are the darkest, scariest people in this world. They literally have sight where they close their eyes and they can see auras and they can track things. That's why they're the darkest, scariest people, okay? Everyone's immortal, Loren, humans are not. Now the Seven Devils, they are the highest of the highest. They are at the tippity top of the hierarchy of all the Hellseer groups, agencies, I don't know. But these Seven Devils are the strongest people in this world. Hear me out, they are not infallible. They are not infallible. They are not infallible. Infallible. How do you say infallible? English? How do you pronounce infallible?
Infallible. Infallible.
Do you know those words that you say all the time and then one time you hear it and you're like, that can't be right. That can't be how you say it. That's like I pronounce Wednesday as Wednesday in my head because I spelt it wrong all the time as a child. And now I accidentally always say Wednesday. Literally, again, literally not why you're here. Okay, they're not infallible. They're not infallible. Like they can make mistakes. And by that I mean like they can be beat. Their situation is hard and they actually can be beat. You know when you're reading a fantasy book and something's going wrong and you're like, literally, why are you not just using that one power? Like literally, why are we in this situation? Like I know everyone's gonna be fine because you're just gonna whip out that one power at the end, or like you're so much stronger, this would literally never happen. For the high stakesness, you know, I get it, but like you're so much stronger than everyone involved, like why is this happening? I didn't find that with the series at all. I really liked that the Seven Devils like actually they were the darkest and they were the scariest, but they were scared, you know, like everyone's a little bit scared. The way that Darien Castle is becoming in touch, but also just like is naturally a little bit in touch with his emotions and like willing to discuss it. He's had his trauma, he knows why he's the way he is, and he's actively trying to not let that perpetuate further on in his life. And also like the bodyguardness of it all, like the way that he rides for her, it kind of does not make sense in the beginning, but then when you get it and it connects, there's so many little strings that connect this story that just I thought were so well done. And on the note of this being so long but not too long, the slow burn made sense. It wasn't like annoying, like they're just desperately trying to keep each other apart. Both of their reasonings make fucking sense. Like I'm not pissed off that you guys are just like slow burning for the sake of slow burning. The slow burn made sense and it made it feel so much better. It made it like such a snap of tension moment when things actually snapped and conversations were actually had. Not to mention that they were conversations. I love it. I loved them. Don't get me wrong, it's a fun vibes fantasy. There are a ton of things about it that are just like extremely convenient, like them interrogating someone and then being like, oh, I'm just gonna tell you everything and it's all gonna be correct. There is some of that in this. However, it's 700 pages long. The story is complex. The unraveling of the weave that this story needed to have done. Literally, what am I saying? The spider web of the story that Kayla Edwards has crafted together to be the conflict in, I'm assuming for the rest of the series, also cumulatively in like just this book, was very intense. Like it had a lot of teeny facets to it and there were a lot of things to uncover. And I think that's why it felt so long, but not too long, because it was never a dull moment. You were always operating on finding out new pieces of information and they actually tied forward. I didn't feel like there were things that happened that like didn't need to happen or ended up not mattering in the end. I also do really have to say, while I am so desperate to go on to the next book in the series, and I'm also so excited to go on to the next books in the series, it felt like a completed chapter. It feels like a completed story. It feels like a cumulative finished product that is now going to carry forward. There are things that we don't know. There are things we still need to tie together, but this feels like a completed chapter in this world with these characters, with like sprinkles, and I mean actual sprinkles of actual romance so many times. But the banter is also really good. But the story is really a main stage in a lot of this book. But if you love both, hear me out, if you love both, if you're like me, there's nothing that gets me the same way that a romantic fantasy will. A romantasy. Having a couple to root for while also going through the craziest of worlds, stories, everything, it's always gonna get me every single time. If you're thinking about reading this and you resonate with all of those things, I think you should. I have a huge list of things. I think a lot of people would really like this. I genuinely feel that way. Like I feel strongly about every single one of these tabs. Darien Castle just needs to be experienced. He does. And she was the perfect main female character to balance him. And I love her. I love him. I love him. After that crazy experience that was this book, there's like no way to sum this up. It was so long. Like I just feel like I spent so much time in this book. I have so many thoughts, I have so many feelings, and I don't know how to talk to you about this book without talking to you about all of them. That's why we've been sitting here for like the hottest of hot minutes, and I feel like things are gonna come to me. I love this. I was not upset to be in this world for as long as I was. It did feel long, but it's so worth it. Oh my god, it's so worth it. He needs to be experienced. If you're thinking about it even in the slightest, like if you're 8% sure you want to read this, it needs to be experienced. Yeah, this man, I don't know how to talk about how good he is. He was so good. We spent a hot minute here. We've been in here. I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave, but it is time. It is time for the dartboard gods to pick our next read. So I literally don't know how to move on, but every single one of the books on that dartboard I really want to read. So I mean, like, there is no doing wrong. We could not go wrong. I honestly had so much work to do yesterday afternoon after throwing the dart and knowing this was going to be the pick and knowing I was going to be able to read it today. I was like, there's no world I can go to bed without having started this. So we did read the first chapter last night, like the first 3-4 pages. I think this is the strongest start to an Olivie Blake book ever. The way the first chapter ends, the way that we're being set up. I've been looking forward to this moment, being able to read this for so long. If you know me, Olivie Blake is my Roman Empire. I have words from One for My Enemy tattooed on my body. The only other book quote I have tattooed on me is from Magnolia Parks. Like, that's how strongly I feel about Olivie Blake. Having this in my hands, getting this, like, I called my mom sobbing when I got an advanced copy of this. No, I'm excited in a way that I legitimately cannot explain, and I just already know. The way that the first chapter, I love. It feels like it's written today, and she is today's Shakespeare. I don't know how else to explain it. This book starts on a bang, like no other bangs. One thing that I'm really noticing this time around, and then in now retrospect realizing that it connects to every other piece of Olivie Blake work that I have ever read, is you will really like her writing and her stories if you look at the world the way that I feel like Olivie Blake looks at the world. Like, the almost academic, critical lens at which she approaches her books and her stories makes the pretentious air to her writing feel important and almost like tactical. There's a real reason why she's approaching the story the way that she does. Like, I can think of a lot of shows that do this, but it's so easy and digestible in a show to just like let someone talk at you, versus when you're reading and you need to put things together and compartmentalize. Sometimes that pretentious air is like not fun. Like, I totally understand why people don't connect Olivie Blake's writing, and I feel like this book is reading much more on the side of like the Atlas 6 than it is like One for My Enemy. I will say at this point in the book, I'm not very far in, but like I have no idea what's going on. Like, I'm very, very utterly confused. If you've watched the show The Fall of the House of Usher, I'm seeing like a lot of similarities, not in story, but like in execution. I have no idea what it's going to be about totally yet. I mean, I knew what it was going to be about like in one soundbite going in, but it's just already like more than that, and I knew it was going to be. But the like air of which that story is told and like the fall of a family is kind of what this is about. Like modern technology, modern wealth, the way that humans will always strive for more, and how that will lead to like inevitably what happens in this story is very similar to like The House of Usher. I feel like I look at the world with the same critical lens that Olivie Blake kind of does, and I don't mean that to compare us in any way, shape, or form, because I know I'm just simply not even on the brainwave that Olivie Blake has ever existed on. I feel like if you look at the world the way that she kind of does, like this critical, kind of pessimistic, with like an air of academia to it, her books tickle something in your brain that has just never been able to be captured by anyone else. And I think that's why her books hit so close for me, because like there's so much in them, there's so much value in the way that she speaks, gets that message across. Like, you have no idea what's going on for like the first half of it. Like, you have no idea where this is going. This one, I will say, though, is like pretty clear in its messaging and like what it's going to do. Like, the interest that we've gotten of all three characters in this so far, we're essentially following the three Wren children, who are just like nepo babies to their core. They don't like being called nepo babies, but they're nepo babies, and their father started Wren Fair, which is this magitech company that has revolutionized how communication happens on Earth nowadays. So they are brilliant billionaire CEOs, and with that combination having been met, they are all obviously wildly successful and driven into madness. And the way that we are introduced to all three characters, which like they just fit the archetype of like oldest sister, middle brother, and then youngest Olivia's sister. It just feels like a story as old as time, but Olivie Blake has made it something new. Like, it's her own story, you know what I mean? I have no idea where it's gonna go. I have no idea what it's gonna do. But like, even the way that we've been introduced to the characters, she just has this gripping way of writing that if you're not paying attention, right over your head. However, if you're like a little bit clocked on and you like the way she writes, you like that little bit of like pretentious academic air to writing, it's so impactful. Like, it packs a punch in a short amount of time, but it also feels so modern in the way she writes. Like, it feels like it's written in our time right now, and little isms in her writing feel very modern, but it feels like something that maybe they'll look back on in like a few hundred years and be like, that was so written in 2025. I just feel like she has the answers to the universe. The way that she explains emotions and develops stories and develops characters is like beyond anything that I could ever like put into words. I connect with the way that she writes so strongly. Like, it's just like her writing is almost like it clicks into place in my brain, and I just like completely understand what she is going for. And I feel like everybody has their author that does that, but if you were like a type A, wanted to do well in school kind of kid that looks at the world with that very same lens, I feel like her books just have like so much punch in them. I don't know if anything I just said makes any sense. The only reason I turned on the camera was to say that I'm really noticing like that academic flair to it, especially just with the way that we're hearing about news in the world right now and like how politically driven everything in the news is right now. I'm just really noticing this time around that her comments on society are weaved into characters, and if you look at the world and pass judgments and like actively critique the things you see the way that she does through like an almost stereotypically academic lens, her writing just is so, I don't know, I feel like I just said nothing, but I said it in so many words. I posted that I was reading this on my story, and someone DM'd me saying like, I heard this book suffers a little bit from like needing to go outside and touch grass. I'm like desperate to hear your thoughts about it, and I kind of get what you mean. Like, this book does need to go outside and touch some grass, and like everything that Olivie Blake writes maybe needs to go outside and touch a little bit of grass. However, I feel like that's part of her lore. Like, I feel like that's what makes her writing so good. She has this like academic lens in which I feel like she writes things, and I also just like don't totally know how I feel yet. All I do know is that I'm flying through this so much faster than I ever would have expected to be. Like 100 pages in, and I feel like I sat and read this for like maybe an hour and a half. I love these characters, but in a way that you hate them. That's how it's supposed to be. But everyone's redeemable. She has a magic touch when it comes to words that I just wish was a talent that I had. I'm not gifted and talented like these characters. This book is like wildly absurd and unexplainable. Like, the fact that they have magical powers, I mean, I bet it's a metaphor for something that at least at this point is like flying right over my head. Literally no idea why, but it is not like necessary to the plot of what is going on. Like, I feel like I kind of understand what people are saying, that this book needs to go outside and touch some grass. And I've been thinking a lot while reading this, like, am I trying really hard to like this and that's why I like it so much? And then I find myself flipping through pages so much faster than I have flipped through any other Olivie Blake book, and I'm like, no, I'm so fucking invested in this story. I feel like the best way that I can explain the way that I feel about it right now, it's like if Ellen Hilderbrand was a little bit kind of pretentious and also like couldn't forget things that she learned in her university sociology course, and that was the lens that she looked at the world. And this is not me dogging on Olivie Blake in any way, shape, or form. It's literally just the best way that I can explain it. Like, this is tea. This is gossip, but it's like a gossip column for like academia, you know? The messaging, the metaphors, the things we're getting out of this, just the experiences and observations that the characters are having are inherently rooted in academia. It's rooted in a conversation on the bourgeoisie, a conversation on class, a conversation on billionaires, a conversation on colonialism. Like, every facet of this book, even like the characters in this book. I will say Ailey is my favorite character in this book, but her name is written in Gaelic, so it's spelled this way, but it's pronounced Ailey because it is Gaelic. They have no Irish or Gaelic heritage. However, even everyone's names in this book are like a commentary on American society. It feels like everything about this book feels so perfectly placed and nuanced, but the story legitimately does not matter at all. It's not like we're rooting for someone. It's not like we're waiting for something to happen. I guess I could tell you what this is about. Okay, we're basically following the three Wren children, Meredith Wren, Arthur Wren, and Ailey Wren, who are the father of Thayer Wren. Thayer Wren is a billionaire CEO. He started a magitech company, which from what I've gathered, which I don't know if I've totally gathered the entire gist of it, is kind of just like the father company of modern day technology, like internet, getting things to and from places. And we have an unbiased narrator in this book. Finding out who that narrator was my favorite thing about this book. It happens really early on, but I will not spoil it. But we're viewing everything through a narrator's point of view. And he has, out of the blue, miraculously passed away. And now we are trying to figure out which of these 3 children, who are obviously super successful, because look at what they grew up around, right? Like, to the public view's eye, we are looking at 3 run-of-the-mill Nepo babies. But also, obviously, they're a little bit crazy. You know what I mean? Like, who gets this company? It literally doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. However, am I fully and wholeheartedly invested in who's going to get this company, their interpersonal relationships, how they feel about things, why their magic manifests the way that it does? I'm so wrapped up in this story. I cannot explain it. It's that same feeling as an Ellen Hildebrand book where you're like, this is tea. This is gossip. I'm having so much fun just like reading about these fictional characters and like what's going on in their life. It's like derivative of the time period. It's a commentary on the time period, it feels like. Like, the issue at hand is so unimportant. Like, who inherits this company? It literally does not matter, but it's so derivative of our time period and the way that the world is operating and the way that things are now. I feel like I'm not explaining this well enough, but I also feel like I know I can't say very much because it's not out yet. I will say Ailey is in fact my favorite character. I love her wholeheartedly through and through. I just like want to give her a hug. The characters in this are inherently unlikable, and they also like fit their sibling archetype, like the oldest daughter, the middle son, and then the youngest daughter, but it's done in a way that's new. I don't know how to explain it. I know so many people are not going to like this. I know that a lot of people who read like most of the books that I read, they won't feel any type of way about this. Like, they'll be like, why is it written this way? Why do I have to like dig for a deeper meaning? And it's not even that you have to dig for it. It's more just like, I feel like I never grew out of university sociology and psychology courses. Like, I am a derivative of having taken those courses. I don't know what went wrong with me that I just look at the world through the lens of having taken those courses. But this book is for the girl that also feels the same way as that. It's tea, but it also is so profound. Now, actually, I could have said nothing and accomplished more. This is 100% for more the Atlas 6 fans than it is for the One for My Enemy fans. Although it's kind of somewhere in the middle. The characters feel of the time. Even the way that like exclamation points are used in this book is so indicative of like girly pop sending corporate emails being like, I'll just add an exclamation point and it'll be fine. It's so of our time. And I feel like that's what's the best part of it. Not even just like the plot of it, even though the plot is so fucking gripping. Maybe I'll change my mind and the second half of this is gonna be like pulling teeth. I don't even like really care how long it takes to get there. I'm enjoying every single page of this. And like the way that the narrator explains like why we're hearing this story and everything, I'm obsessed with this. I don't know how to explain it, but I am obsessed with it. I cannot wait for my fellow Olivie Blake lovers to get this book in their hand. This might shape up to be my favorite. Like, I want to do nothing but read this. On the pipeline from gifted child to clinical depression, nobody wins, but which Wren will come out on top? That's not even like why it's good. It's good because the characters are the way that they are. It's so deeply absurd. I think this is my favorite Olivie Blake book. This is so unserious, but so unserious that it comes back around and is serious again. I'm obsessed. No, I'm obsessed with this. And talk normal about this. Like, I do not know how to come on here and be normal about this. I don't have it in me. I feel like I have so many thoughts and simultaneously no way to put my words together to make them concisify. I need concisify to be a word. The feelings that I feel for this. Okay, Miss Olivie Blake has done it again. Am I surprised? Absolutely not. Am I so pleasantly thankful and grateful that I got to read these words and they live in my brain now? 110%. I feel so much like, look at the annotation. Look at them. I don't know how to be normal. I don't know how to be normal about this. This is simultaneously somehow the story of 3 siblings with their mental intricacies who might inherit this 1% billionaire-esque company, and is somehow so much larger than that while also being so contained to the personhood of these 3 characters. What Olivie Blake did in this, like the nuance of this story, I don't know how to talk about it. Like, I still feel like anytime I read anything Olivie Blake, I'm just not smart enough to totally get it. But I'm just grateful to have been here, to have experienced it. I feel like there's a lot that went over my head in this book. I cried, man. I cried. And it's not bad. It's somehow all sad, but it's not sad in a way that's sad. It's sad in a way that's like resignation. That is just like, like, fuck, you know? She has simultaneously humanized these characters while also telling a story that is so of the times. I have so many thoughts about this and literally no way to talk about it. The feelings, I don't have the words. Like, they're not in the English language. They don't exist. They just don't exist. It's not even that the characters are like extremely well-rounded or like really definable in any way, shape, or form. They are, do not get me wrong, but that's not what's good about it. It's almost like this story focuses on the parts of a character, the nuances of what goes on in someone's brain outside of what another book would focus on. Like, this focuses on the intricacies, the teeny tiny details, the teeny tiny moments, the teeny tiny thought that in another book wouldn't be necessary to the plot and therefore would be skipped over, that has simultaneously created such well-rounded, relatable in the sense that they think the way that a person thinks. And she has made that the story. We are following these three siblings and we are curious who's going to inherit this billion-dollar company. And that is the story. Like, that is the thread that's tying everything together. But these characters are the story. They're eccentric, they're crazy, but they're also just normal siblings. They're all like, they all have their own mental intricacies. There's something about Olivie Blake. She just creates characters that, don't get me wrong, I've never met anyone like these people. I haven't. I don't think I ever will. They're probably real because there's just no way that Olivie Blake thought these up. Like, there's no way you just think up the things that these characters are thinking. Their motive for the way that they do anything. I feel like we don't just hear what they're saying or hear how they're acting. Nothing's told to us. We're getting such an in-depth look at their mental dialogue that is driving why they make the decisions that they make, and it could be the most mundane decision. However, we got their thought process throughout the entire book and the things that they were focusing on, even like little teeny tiny nuanced things that you would not know connected to something else. Having known that about the character, when they did said action, it made so much sense. What I just said didn't make any sense. The characters all fixate on something. They all have something. They all have their own isms. And knowing those isms about them, when they do or say something in the book to another character that that character didn't think anything about, if you just heard that the character had said that, you wouldn't think anything of it. But knowing everything it took, every moment, minute detail of their thought process going into that thought coming out of their mouth, it just feels like you know them. They're so simultaneously humanized while also being so entirely unrelatable. This is the story of three kids who are obviously extremely successful because they grew up with a billionaire dad, but are also obviously so messed up. I feel like an inherent need to protect this, not like this copy specifically, obviously this copy specifically, because like, what do you mean I have an arc of Olivie Blake? But I feel a very strong urge to protect this story because everything about it is so wildly absurd. Nothing matters, and that's why it matters. Like, this is so incredibly character driven, but it's not character driven in the sense that you like really care about them and it's just like characters having relationships with each other. Character driven in the sense that it's just like literally the story is made up of these three people. She has made these so outlandish but somehow relatable people that they create their own story, and it's enough driver for it to be what it is. Like, I don't know if I know what the point of it was. I can't point at anything in this and say that was the point. There was just so much baked into it that felt so important. I'm really curious to see other Olivie Blake fans' thoughts on this book when they finally read it, because it was amazing. It was so good. I can't explain to you why I think this is my new favorite Olivie Blake book, which, by the way, if you were wondering it, even the slightest, 5 stars across the board. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Who's gonna inherit the business? They all have their own things going on. That is what it's about, but it's not like what it's about. No, I don't know how to be normal about this. Anyways, we're gonna let the dark gods pick the next book, which thank God, because I literally don't know how I would pick anything else up right now. Like, how would I pick what to pick up after that? Not even one singular clue what this might be about, but I do know that I really want to love Adrienne Young. It feels like an author that I would love, and I just read The Unmaking of June Farrow at the wrong time. Also, that the Dartboard gods were obviously with me a little bit today because we just read 2 monster novels, maybe 2 of the longest on the list, at least like processing wise, and we pulled the shortest one on the list as well. So we read the longest and the shortest in this video, which maybe doesn't bode well for the rest of these to come. That's a future Maddie problem. The list of things I should be doing is lengthy. The only thing that I am going to do or want to do or can put my energy towards is finding the fuck out what is gonna happen. I had no idea what this was gonna be about going in, not one singular clue. We're following James, and James's twin brother Johnny has been shot in the woods by a hunter, okay? This is the perfect balance between like literary fiction style mystery thriller with like a tiny bit of magical realism, but in a way that like maybe it's just literary fiction, maybe it's real. Johnny and James are twins, and they have like a little twin telepathy thing going on. The moment that Johnny died, James just knew. She knew, right? She could feel it in her chest, and that is where the magical realism comes into this. They grew up in Six Rivers, which is a teeny tiny town. Very much so, nobody leaves. You meet a guy, you get pregnant, and you're stuck there. That kind of energy. That is kind of what's going on. James got out, and there is so much mystery. There are so many things that have been introduced. I want to tell you kind of not a lot more than that. The magical realism of it all, like the connection of it all, does scream Adrienne Young, but I am so much more invested in this story. I think I missed the first time around in the Unmaking of June Farrow that it was mystery and that it was balanced so well. We have like the right amount of information about our characters for it to be about the story. I'm not like crazily emotionally invested, but I'm so invested in the story, and it's like the perfect balance of like caring about the characters, knowing the characters, and discovering about the characters while also being like not fixating on things that don't matter. The thing that happened that made James leave town is like this thread that is pulling this story together that we don't totally know what happened. We don't totally know what's going on, and we also don't understand why James even thinks that this wasn't just an accident, right? However, the little bits of the story that we're getting, and we're just like checking things off of the list that like it's not this, it's not that. I don't know how to express my gratitude towards what this story is doing. I'm hooked. I'm actually truly hooked. I have less than 70 pages left. Actually, I have 70 pages on the dot left. I'm on chapter 21, which sounds to me like I just need to finish it. I can't even ramble on about it because I need to know what is going to happen. There's like little trickles of romance. There's like little trickles of mystery, the magical realism tying it all together. It's a very gripping, good story. I don't know if I'm going to think about it all the time once I finish it. I feel like I need to read I just need to know what's going to happen. Like we're getting clues, we're getting inklings of things, and then we're going through and we're solving them and we're finding out things. It's paced really well, but it's a story first, not a character driven story first. Does that make sense? You could replace the characters in this story with other people, but the fact of these characters that you know about them is also the story, so it's kind of character driven, but it's more the story that we're invested in. I just said nothing. I don't even care that I just said nothing because I don't even want to talk about it anymore. I want to read it. I want to get in here. I want to know what's going to happen in these last 70 pages because like everyone feels like a suspect, but like yeah, okay, we just need to find out. Okay, I feel like we're getting somewhere. Like I feel like the answer could be right in front of us. Like there's a plausible conclusion here, a plausible answer to everything. However, I just feel like it's gonna turn a 180. Like we're gonna just have like a full flip on our head, and it's just gonna, I feel whiplash incoming. This like an hour and a bit ago, and I feel like I need to talk about it now because it is already kind of slowly leaving the recesses of my brain, if I'm completely honest. I so enjoyed the reading experience of this. I liked this. I don't know if I liked this better than The Unmaking of June Farrow. I definitely liked the story in The Unmaking of June Farrow better. Now that I'm out of this, I didn't care like all that much. However, it was a really good reading experience. Like I enjoyed reading it. I wanted to know what was gonna happen. The end was satisfying. The end was satisfying. It was satisfying. I liked it. I liked it. Okay, it's sitting somewhere between like a 4, 4.25, 4.5, somewhere in that realm. The actual story was really entertaining. Like what I think this does really well is it marries literary fiction and mystery thriller kind of vibe, and it's the best of both worlds. Like the grippingness of being a mystery thriller, wanting to discover what's going to happen, it actually unfolds kind of like a mystery thriller, but then it's written through this literary fiction lens that kind of is just like a much more beautiful reading experience in my opinion. Like I appreciate the way that she explains things. There's teeny tiny things that she says in this book, like little nuanced lines that in a romance might go missed, but because they're in this world, and like the little verbiage that she uses to tie things together, like there's a sentiment in this book like we're born in the dark, we were born in the dark because the forest is so ever standing, the forest that they grew up in, and it's just like this big swallowing darkness. and that's where they were born. They were born of that, and that like kind of carries through really far. And then having the magical realism of it all, honestly, talking about it, I liked it. Like I really liked it. I would suggest it to anyone. Like I think this is a book that I think my mom would love, but also I think a lot of you would love. I enjoyed this so much. However, I don't think I'm gonna think about it a lot again, but like that's not a bad thing. That's fine. I had a really good time reading it. After reading like the dense books that I'd read that left like kind of really big impacts on me, like especially picking this up after Gifted and Talented, honestly it was probably for the best that this got picked because it had that mystery element, and like the end was satisfying. The mystery was actually really good, and I appreciated the pacing of this because again it had like the best of literary fiction, so the pacing wasn't necessarily thriller paced, but it was fast. What do I mean by that? How do I explain that in a way that would mean anything to someone that's not living inside of my brain? The mystery thriller was the story of this. Like what? Thriller's not the right word. It's a mystery, really. Well, I don't know. What's the definition of thriller? It's more mystery, right? We're trying to figure out what happened to Johnny and like where these strings tie in. But the literary fiction, woman's fiction-ness of it was the lens that we approached the story. So we weren't just getting clues. We were also getting the women's fiction side of it, the learning about James, learning about her story, her self-discovery through the lens of this being the story that we're hearing about her life. That's a good way to explain it. Like this is the part of her life, the character's life that we got, but there's a whole other life that she lived before and a whole other life that she'll live after this. This character exists. She doesn't just exist through the lens of telling this mystery story. I feel like this character felt real, like well-rounded, but we didn't focus on her as a character. That wasn't what it was about. So it married women's fiction and mystery together so that we met somewhere in the middle and we cared about the character. We knew a lot about her. We learned about her. We grew with her. A lot happened with her, but we learned that through the vessel of the fact that this had taken place in her life and she was going on this mystery plot. And that is like where this book meets. And it does what it does really well. The writing was really beautiful. I just think that maybe I don't overly connect to these books. That was the whole point of this video. I connect to like a really long book 9 times out of 10 a lot more than short ones. But if this was longer, I probably would have pulled my hair out because this was like paced exactly the way that it should be. I'll recommend this all the time. Like I would recommend this book pretty confidently. This is a book I feel like a lot of people would like. It has like the grippingness to it, but it's super well written. That is kind of like the perfect combination. I just didn't overly connect to it, but I really liked it. I did. Maybe at The Unmaking of June Farrow I felt the same way, but The Unmaking of June Farrow I feel like I missed that like mystery, discovering the plotness of it, and I thought it was just kind of literary fiction with magical realism. Magical realism in this also felt like very real. Like I almost like kind of was just buying into it when I was reading. Like that makes sense. I don't know, if you guys know twins, I feel like you'll be like, nah, maybe. And on that note, after The Dark Gods Have Spoken, we have officially read 3 books that were so high up on my TBR, and I really don't think any of them disappointed, but I don't know if I would have picked any of them up at the time that I did. So this is what we say thank you to the dartboard for. Like this is what the dartboard was here for, you know? We're gonna keep going with this series here and there until we get all the books on the dartboard read. Honestly, I will do absolutely anything to take my book decisions out of my hands because the last thing that I want to do is choose what I'm going to read. Yes, the book club hoodie is still available for 1 more week until June 2nd. So if you've been thinking about grabbing one, now could be a really good time. Because I don't know about you, but after living vicariously through all the characters that we just lived through, I do have a will to live vicariously through fictional characters to the point that I wanted it on a sweater. So I made it. And if you want one, you can find it and everything you need to know at MadisonKate.com. Let me know if you guys have read any of these and what you thought of them, or if you're gonna be adding any of these to your TBR after this. Honestly, I think all of them really need to be added to the TBR. I had a feeling that the dartboard videos, most of them would end with, yeah, I loved every single one of these. I feel like they went even better than I was anticipating they were going to. A big thank you to the dartboard gods. And on that note, I hope to see you in the next one. Love you. Bye. Doing the love you with the love you on the sleeve feels like too serendipitous. It's perfect.